We're sorry to break it to you. The only way to get rich without working is to work so hard that you have other people work hard on your behalf. You cannot avoid hard labor, but you can manage it wisely. The faster you get there, the wiser you are. Welcome back to another exciting video from Blueprint to Wealth. Today's video is about 10 ways to autopilot wealth creation, the truth. Before we start the video, please like, subscribe, and press the bell icon. Set your default mode to hard work, no days off until you can afford to. The primary distinction between individuals who succeed and those who do not is found in their default settings. Working 40 hours weekly will provide them with the desired lifestyle. They usually need to be corrected. It is a lot of work until it becomes your default standard. After that, it's just another 12-hour day. Autopilot does not imply that you do not work. Rather, it signifies that the road you're on is predetermined, and you won't stop until you reach your target. Automate investment out of earnings. Here's how to consider it. Your future comes first. This implies that every time you get a paycheck, 30% of it is automatically invested. This can be worked out with your bank. Believe us, and some of you can corroborate it, the brain works in mysterious ways. If you only have $1,000 to carry you through the month, that's plenty. If you only have $500, that is sufficient. You'll figure things out regardless. If you're in the lower or middle class in the United States, your 401k or Roth IRA are your best bets. Aside from that, it's most likely stocks. Self-compounding S&P 500. We now possess the Vanguard S&P 500 Index, VOO. We no longer manually select equities unless we want to have some fun. The majority of our automatic investments are in the S&P 500. We don't touch it, it compounds on its own. Compound interest is arguably the most underappreciated method of accumulating wealth. With only $10,000, you can stop generational poverty if you buy $10,000 in S&P 500 on the day your child is born and leave it alone to compound. That investment will have grown to nearly $1 million by the time your children reach retirement age. That is something you should do for all of your children and grandchildren. No matter how hard you work, you will eventually get $10,000. Please place it in the markets and then forget about it. They're taken care of 65 years later. Continue creating forever green IP. Stacking licenses, trademarks, patents, or royalties is another clever strategy to expand your money on autopilot. Begin by protecting intellectual property and then licensing it out. You'll get cash in your account whenever someone utilizes your idea. The beauty of this is that nearly no notion is too stupid to be considered. Someone dreamed up the idea of a rubber pirate in 1997 and turned it into a comic book. It became a cartoon 2 years later, then a real-life television show on Netflix 25 years later. The inventor is compensated at every level of the process. One Piece has 1075 episodes so far, and they're not stopping. Reinvesting profits. Whether it's a business or an investment in art, the goal is to maximize the value of your portfolio before it's time to unload it. You do realize that wealthy people appreciate art, don't you? And not because they deserve it, but because it increases their wealth. Billionaires are not eager to part with their Picassos. They have increased in value year after year, while standard investments have struggled to weather the storm, which is why 95% of billionaires spend at least 5% of their portfolios on fine art. Hiring a CEO. Just because you founded a firm doesn't imply you should run it. There is a better position for you, called chairman or being on the board. This gives you the authority to hire and fire your CEO. The truth is that some of you are fantastic at beginning businesses but need to gain the requisite skill set to establish an HR department, scale to many locations, and become bogged down in meeting after meeting. That is when you sell the company at its current level or hire a CEO. Having a CEO report to you keeps you engaged in the business while removing all the stress. And that's assuming you're doing a good enough job. Collect your dividends and go about your business. Even better, put those dividends to good use. Every year acquiring a cash-flowing property. Here's the only wealth building secret you'll ever need. You are not permitted to spend the money that you earn. You spend it on things that make you more money, which you then spend. If you have a profitable business, use the proceeds to purchase some rental homes. Purchase them in cash, with no debt. That way, your money is secure, and the property will give you a monthly amount to cover groceries and utilities. Every year, try to purchase at least one property. Soon, you'll have 3, 4, or 5 of them, and they'll start paying for your vacations and your children's schooling. You keep at it for a certain amount of time, and eventually, you'll reach a critical point when your rental properties pay for another property every year. This usually occurs between the ages of 10 and 12. The rental revenue is sufficient for you to purchase additional rental properties. Invest in a REIT. Suppose you believe buying properties on your own is too difficult, although we advocate hiring a property manager to handle most of the headaches. In that case, you can invest in a real estate investment trust. Investors pool their funds, the fund purchases properties, and the rental income is dispersed to the investors. This way, you won't have to deal with the tenants or collect rent personally. REITs are a realistic alternative with comparable earnings to the stock market, making them one of the best investments. Hire a wealth manager. Is someone who invests your money on your behalf. The minimal amount wealth managers would take as a client is $250,000. Before approaching a wealth manager, the average person waits until they have $2 to $5 million in investable earnings. These are funds, institutions, or, in some cases, tiny family offices that charge a fee of roughly 1% to manage your finances on your behalf. So all you have to do is raise $5 million and trust them to look after your future. And finally, automate your learning. Anyone who sells you money apart from employment is hustling you. They're making money off of your hard work. Thus, there are no made-for-you systems that will make you rich. If you could turn $1 into $2, you'd run the machine until it stopped producing fresh dollars. Keep in mind that individuals will constantly try to sell you the dream. Memberships in Amazon FBA's private investing groups, now they're selling YouTube channels. It's all nonsense. The only valid value is in-depth education that empowers you to make your growth. Everything on this list demands you to become someone who actually deserves money and can monetize their abilities at any time. Wealth on autopilot denotes that you have amassed so much wealth that the residuals, or interest on your fortune, exceed what you could spend. You become wealthy by taking many risks with a small amount of money.